Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Breakfast with Books here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you all could be with us today. And we have another special conversation today with our guest for this week, author Karla Davis-Luster. She's the author of this book, The Woman Tells. If you have not gotten it already, make sure you guys click below in the carousel here on Amazon Live to get your copy, either the Kindle edition or the print. I have them both. You definitely want to be able to refer back to this. Karla, great to have you back with us.
Oh, I've been having a ball this week. Thank you for having me back. This is fun.
Well, look, we have something special for our audience. We're going to wait till Friday and tell them about that. But we definitely want to keep the conversation going. If you guys are in the chat, make sure you guys let us know where you're joining us from. We had an international audience yesterday. Want to keep making sure that you guys are a part of our conversation here as we're talking love, relationships, and everything in between with The Woman Tells. So, Karla, today we're discussing chapter number 3. And this is an interesting chapter in the book. And again, we should let our audience know, for those that are just maybe starting to follow us here on the series this week, this book is kind of a combination, right, of fiction, nonfiction, being able to craft this story together. I want to ask you, before we get into chapter 3, did you have moments after you wrote this saying to yourself, wow, I can't believe I wrote this?
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, I had to sit back. I had a cup of wine and I said, did I actually write this? But yes, I did have my moments.
Well, and I think that, as we'll see in this chapter, Karla, unfortunately, this is life. Right? This is life for so many people. One of the things that we find from our female kind of narrator in this particular chapter is she talks about how she kind of found herself in this situation, right? And you know, enjoying, of course, the physical, but also the other aspects of it, the emotional as well, and not knowing what she liked the best. I think that's something that you hear a lot, right, when it comes to people and their attractions, why they end up being with someone, staying with someone. Why was that important for you to mention that this went beyond just the physical?
Because when things happen, you know, people tend to think that it's always, you know, it's a physical thing, the appearance and all. I did it because there are a lot of emotional sides too. I want to say not just women, to men as well. They don't show theirs as much, but as women do. But there are a lot of different sides that are important to people. I mean, you may meet my mental needs, but you may not meet my physical, or vice versa. And then this person that we are talking about, you know, in this particular chapter, they're into the cheating portion. The paramour, per se, is actually meeting her needs in every aspect. He's meeting her mental, her self-esteem, because he's constantly, you know, doing things to build her up, which at some point the husband in the book had failed to do. So there are, once again, that we're talking about this, that your needs don't only get met. I mean, things happen, and there's not a thing where it's just your physical needs being met. Sometimes you're attracted to people because they're meeting other needs. It could be the funny side. It could be, you know, the health side, that someone is really, you know, involved in helping you with your health. You could have some issues there. So it's not just locked into physical, like you said. It's like whatever your needs are, if someone is able to step in and meet it, there may be an attraction there.
And it's such a, I think it's an interesting thing to talk about for a couple of reasons, Karla. When I was thinking about today's conversation, I think about how innocently some things do happen, right? Of course, we know from chapter 2, this wasn't quite as innocent, but some things can start off as innocent as someone showing you some extra attention at work, right? Or someone, you know, who, you know, you've known for years, kind of being there, you know, at a time that you really need them. So as we go throughout this chapter, what we're able to realize, though, is that she does realize that she's not the only one, right? I mean, she's not the only one. So talk to us about that, because this book it's entertainment, but it also, as I said, it's realism, but it also, I think, it's a reality for so many people that even when they think they're getting everything, they're reminded of what they're not getting and what they don't have.
Exactly. So I try to show it that, okay, so you're having issues in your marriage and you step out, you get this additional person that you think are meeting those needs. But keep in mind, that person is human as well. That person comes with baggage that you may not see right up front because they're, everyone, once again, I always say that they're on their best behavior when it's the beginning. I say everything is wonderful in the beginning, it gets uneasy in the middle, and it's plain old painful on the way out. So in the beginning, you are in that beautiful stage where everyone is on their best behavior. But as you get to know a person, they may be meeting all these needs, but at some point you're going to start to see what baggage they're bringing to the party as well. It's not that they've come to the party squeaky clean or whatever. And in this chapter, she starts to realize that, okay, he's wooed me and he's done all this stuff, but how many others is he wooing and having this like little rendezvous with? Although he's taking care of my needs, but then will I be winding up into the same situation because he has, some more extra baggage as well? So you have to be careful with that. You jump all in, you always say that the grass is greener on the other side, but not necessarily. You got to get over there and see how the grass is growing, how green the grass really is, how often is it mowed, So you have to be aware of those things. It's not necessarily upfront. Everything is not always like as it is presented up front. So that's what I'm talking about in that piece.
I love that. And Karla, if you saw me keep looking down, I wanted to make sure I was acknowledging a comment that was coming in on Amazon Live. So we appreciate you all being with us there. I don't want to mispronounce it. It's spelled S-A-H-M. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Sam. But first of all, she says, happy, wonderful Wednesday to the two of us, Karla. And also she said she couldn't have explained it any better, Karla. And I think that is it. I think, going into situations, eyes wide open. What I never have understood about situations is, and Karla, I'm sure you hear these in conversations too. In doing this show for 18 years, I've had individuals who come on who have been cheated on and have cheated, have found themselves as the other. I even had one conversation with the wife and the other woman on this program. And I think sometimes is, how do you not know how the story is going to end, right? If you know you're not the only one, how do you not know? But do you find that people, as in this situation like this, do find themselves still surprised even when they know how they met an individual?
Because you said eyes wide open. I think there's a movie I think is out. I think they went into it eyes wide shut or something. You went into it, you know what's going on, and what it is that you've built up this fairy tale in your mind, and you've blocked out everything else, all the signals, all the signs, and everything else that's like knocking on your door saying, hello, I'm here, can you see me? You're blocking it out because you're so intertwined in that you want this to be, you got this fairy tale in your mind and you're trying to make sure that it happens, that you're just overlooking. I think you see it, but sometimes people will overlook it just to be in a scenario. And then after a while, it becomes so overwhelming. Then you start to wake up, like you open your eyes because they're eyes wide shut. And then you start finding all these things, but they were right there in the beginning. If you had paid attention and stopped being in this fairy tale that, you're all just putting things behind you or just overlooking it. I get this. I've gotten this, even from some of my family members, just talking about any issue. It doesn't necessarily have to be the relationship that, just overlook it. Just go ahead and just go on. But when things are consistent and they consistently happen, you need to address them, even if it's something, if it's something that continuously happen, you need to really address them because they're going to continue to happen until you address them and then make a decision about what you're going to do about it and stick to it. Do it and stick to it.
Really good point. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, both on Facebook as well as Amazon Live, you are watching Breakfast of Books here on Amazon Live. My guest is Karla Davis-Luster, the author of this book, The Woman Tells. You guys can see it there. It is in the carousel there. And thank you so much for the clarification. I apologize. Just so I can let you know, Karla, it stands for Stay at Home Mommy. So okay. I wasn't sure. I saw the letters. I wasn't sure. And Aaron Davis says, yeah. So we thank you all for joining us there on Amazon Live. If you guys have not already, I always get this wrong. Hover over this side of the video. You guys can follow us here. Have a lot more conversations coming up with Karla and others in our Breakfast of Books segment. So make sure you guys stay tuned. I want to get into these stats, though, that you include in this chapter. So I want to talk about the decision to do this, Karla? Because again, as I mentioned, that's why I said in the beginning of today's conversation, you're giving us entertainment, but you're also giving us truth. You share some stats in the book that, you know, when it comes to relationships, infidelity, why did you decide to include that in a book like this?
I will be very honest. I had not thought about it. I went to dinner with a very close friend, a very close friend's brother, and he's close to, and we discussed, like different things that should possibly be in a book to make it, just to make the book come together. And we talked about, like statistics really support what you're saying. You get to, like just bring out some points that give the stats are basically, what that is that you've done, a lot of people have been surveyed or whatever else, and they give their answer, and that's how they come up. I thought it was very, once I had talked to that person, I said, you know what, you hold a very good point. Now I need to decide which stats to put in there. Obviously I wanted to put stats in there that pertain to the book, and so I did some research with some magazines and everything like that. I talked to some people, I looked up a lot of things, and these stats were very surprising to me. And I know you're going to get into it. I will say, I will throw this disclaimer out. I think that these stats could possibly be wrong right now because during COVID, a lot of things happened. And I have several lawyer friends, and they said that the divorce rate and just a lot of things that entail with relationships just went haywire. The divorce rate went way up. So prior to COVID, these stats are correct. Now, if you look them up now, I don't know what they're going to look like because COVID sent everybody into some kind of frenzy.
Right. And really good point. So I want to share a few of these. And for those who have the Kindle edition of the book, you guys can click it right now and be able to go along with me as I'm sharing some of these stats. But the three that stood out to me that I wanted to talk about here, Karla, is one, noted by One Magazine, 70% of relationships that experience infidelity actually stay together. Another one, men who cheat, who divorce their wives for the other woman, according to Divorce Magazine, is actually a very low percentage, only 3%, which goes into this chapter, which is why I wanted to, ironically, that chapter being chapter number 3, with that 3%. But the third thing was divorce caused by infidelity, 20 to 40%. Now, I have to say, of all the stats, I thought that one would be higher. Did that stat surprise you?
Not really. I'm not surprised by too much, but not really, due to the fact that I think once people, if you're really going to try to work on your marriage, or you really get into, if I'm going to leave or whatever else, you say that you're mad, I'm going to leave, and then reality sets in. What is your situation? Maybe you are a stay-at-home wife and the husband did the cheating, and you start, I'm leaving, I'm this, that, and the other. Then you start to think financially. Then you start to think that you got children. Then you start to think about all of your surroundings, and then you start to think about, you do this list. And they did, I think it was Why Did I Get Married? Janet Jackson was playing the role, and she was the counselor. And she said, she told the two young ladies, I want you to sit down and write down all the pros and all the cons. And if the pros outweigh the cons, I want you to go home and rethink what you're doing, because anybody can make a mistake, in God's eyes. And I have to go biblical on this, is like, no mistake is different from the other. If you stole a piece of gum and you went out here and committed adultery, God is not going to look at that like, okay, this one is larger than this one is larger than that one. It's all the same. So with me saying that is that when you step back and take a look and you do all the lists, and you look at what a person have done, all the good things that you've done and all the good things that you've shared, it could be that they've come back to say, I'm going to try to move past this one thing, although this is hurtful and this is, kind of something that's, whatever else. Because of what we share, I'm going to try to push past that and try to make it work.
And which is why I want to read this for those who have the print edition of the book. On page 41, Karla writes this: what we tolerate is all based on our own personal feelings, character, beliefs, and decision making. And I think that is the big thing here, Karla, what I appreciate really about this chapter. It puts the onus on us. You can talk to your friends, you can do all of this, as you mentioned with the movie with Janet Jackson, but at the end of the day, these are decisions you have to live with. So as we're wrapping up our
Really?
conversation, it seems like the time goes faster and faster.
I know, it's like
but it's so good, and we appreciate you all. We want you all to keep the comments going even after we wrap